Hello there. So the SNP thinks Margaret Thatcher has come back to haunt them by strewing rubbish about in Glasgow. As per usual, please like, subscribe and comment below. And when subscribing, please do press that little bell, but also select the all option, or you won't get any notifications when I publish a new video. Well, there's one for the history books. Margaret Thatcher is still living rent-free in the heads of the left 31 years after she finally left number 10 and 8 years since she passed away. And now she's the one to blame, apparently, for all the rubbish piling up in the streets of Glasgow, as well as all the rats that the rubbish is attracting. Rats that have reportedly caused illness amongst a couple of council workers while they were out collecting that mounting rubbish. Yes, the SNP leader of Glasgow Council, Susan Aitken, has decided that our Margaret is a rather active poltergeist and is to blame for her city's woes. All the challenges that her city faces are a legacy of our post-industrial past when the Thatcher government walked away and abandoned and left in neglect communities right across the city, she claimed during a grilling by MPs on the Scottish Affairs Committee. Talk about trying to pass the buck. Just as COP26 is about to start and your city is completely unprepared for all those VIPs that need to be accommodated and transported about and into and out of Glasgow. You'd think that SNP politicians wanted the place to look a mess for this international event. Well, maybe that is their intention and then blame it on Westminster as usual. But this time they have evidently found another scapegoat. Now, I remember just about every Olympic Games ever being held were behind schedule right up until the last minute, some with a threat of industrial action in the background as well. But somehow the rabbit was pulled from the hat at the very last moment. But I'm not so sure Glasgow even has started running up a schedule yet. Right now we're just a week away from COP26 and there's reports of rubbish across the streets of Glasgow, an impending bin collection strike and ScotRail staff on the verge of industrial action as well. Just as a boatload, or more accurately, gas-guzzling jet plane loads of COVID restriction-free COP26 attendees are about to arrive and tell us how to fundamentally change our lives. As the Mail puts it, world leaders from 120 countries will soon descend on Glasgow, but Scotland's second city is blighted by rubbish and fly tipping, as well as some of the UK's highest poverty, drug death and crime rates. But the SNP is ready with its scapegoat, Margaret Thatcher. Well, if reports are to be believed, the streets of Glasgow are going to remind the delegates of some of the most hideously poor places they've ever visited. And it won't be the fault of a long-dead UK Prime Minister. No, it will all be down to the SNP and the disastrous manner in which they administer both Glasgow and Scotland as a whole. I do have to wonder if they do it on purpose to then try and blame everything on Westminster and the Boris Johnson government in their quest for an IndyRef 2 and Scottish independence. Or is it just pure stupidity and ineptitude? Either way, the people of Scotland are being left behind by the very people they voted in north of the border. And the more devolution Holyrood gets, the worse it gets. One Tory MSP in Glasgow, Sandesh Gulhane, said that Aitken was delusional and out of her depth and said, "We've heard a lot of far-fetched excuses from Susan Aitken over the past few months, but the idea that Margaret Thatcher is to blame for the current state of Glasgow's streets absolutely takes the biscuit. The disgraceful state of our city right now is due to nothing other than years of SNP incompetence. Susan Aitken must now stop the excuses and urgently produce some solutions, not only for COP26 in a week's time, but for the people of Glasgow who live here all year round. Now it seems that Aitken has also been trying to play these problems in Glasgow down. So it must just be a minor Thatcher haunting then, nothing for the record books. But she also upset some fellow Scots last week when she claimed that Edinburgh was dirtier than Glasgow, leaving Scotland's two largest cities to have a public spat about which of them was the most unclean. Well done, SNP. And Aitken also said that, "I was in London a couple of weeks ago for the first time since the pandemic, and I have to say I had a phone full of pictures of rubbish." So more intent on travelling about the UK, trying to find worse places than Glasgow and then point fingers, and not getting on with her day job of sorting the problems out in her own backyard before her city becomes a showcase to the world of all the day-to-day things the SNP hasn't achieved. Now, when these events occur, there has normally been a bit of a cash injection to pretty things up for visitors and pay for extra services and the like. And as I understand it, the UK has put in some 100 million quid. But the SNP looks set to do its best to show its city of Glasgow off in the poorest of light, and attempt to discredit the whole UK, possibly. The tentative plans to transfer the whole lot to London a while ago should have been triggered, because the SNP obviously cannot be trusted to run a bath, let alone host an international conference. Now, I have this nagging concern that some in the SNP will be extremely happy to see a Glasgow in decline look, that the COP26 delegates can then soak up and take away with them, especially if their local Scottish pro-indie press has some nice indie backing headlines in them during the stay, along the lines of, "If only we were independent, we'd have such a pretty Glasgow," you know, the sort of thing. And I wonder how many billboards have been bought up for the duration. Now, the SNP administration is having problems with its workers, like ScotRail engineers, over pay. But the SNP are given 30% or so more per head than the people of England are, so where's all that cash going? And does anyone know if any of those much promised pre-election free bicycles and laptops have emerged? Anyway, if they do have ScotRail problems, then according to the Telegraph, the COP26 attendees will be spending more time commuting from hotels to venues and back than they will spend actually talking to other delegates. Because many of them, for some or other reason, are booked into hotels in Edinburgh. You know, that other dirty city. And it says that the COP26 Transport Plan B is for everyone to go by road. And the Telegraph points out that it would, on any normal day, cost £160 and take nearly 2.5 hours to take the Edinburgh to Glasgow return trip via an Uber. And if that happens, no doubt the SNP will be having a go at former Tory MP Norman Tebbit for saying, "Get on your bike." So what's your opinion on the SNP blaming Thatcher for their failings? Please like and comment below.